Hey everyone, very exciting video. We're going to look at some black mat evidence. This is evidence supposedly from the time of the great upheavals, the time of the Younger Dryas. But actually, some of these black mats could be from more recent times. We're going to look at some historical record of this from Northern Europe, whether it's historical record, whether it's invented stories, who knows. We're going to look at the origin of the Goths because the Goths have something interesting. Coming from Scandinavia, they actually sound their enthymeme is actually has been interpreted as the people who come from a sunken land. Let's check this out. Well, hello, my lovelies, and we're back to old school in this video. We're going to talk about ancient catastrophes in Northern Europe and across the North Americas. The black mat hypothesis, which is more than a hypothesis, it's something happened. We don't know what. And we're going to look at how the Orea Linda manuscript seems to describe an ancient, I don't know how to turn that off, I've tried everything, describes an ancient catastrophe. We're going to also talk about a little bit about the Atlantis legend, which also records this catastrophe. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. And a little bit about Scandinavian and the German origins, because I do believe, some say the Germans come out of Asia. The problem with the Germans is that Slavs seem to have always been in their lands, based on everything I can see, based on the city names, everything I can see. But the Germans might come from somewhere else. Was it these sunken lands? And that's kind of what the Orea Linda manuscript partly says. Something really bad happened to them, and that's why they became a coastal people. And all the megaliths are around the coasts. Let's get into it. So, a fan of this channel has sent me this black mat picture from Northern Netherlands. Something has happened. As you can see, there has been a massive disturbance in not too distant history. What we have here, and I'll show you why this is interesting. You have a type of soil here. You have a black mat here. And then a different type of very sandy looking soil here. What does this show us? It shows us that a catastrophe has happened, but more than that, to my view, there's been an upheaval because the type of soil has changed. It has changed, it looks sandy. It's more like a beach, whereas before it was more like maybe a different type of beach, a different type of soil. So the geochemistry after this catastrophe has shifted, which means the land might have shifted. Something has happened. There's been an upheaval. What's happened? This is from the ancient, a recent ancient apocalypse with Graham Hancock, talking about catastrophes, impact sites, black mat sites, which they have found. And this is a huge black mat area, which they date to the Younger Dryas. And it's encompassing all of North America, which, by the way, in old maps is blank. As Hapgood pointed out, North America is always blank. There's no rivers, nothing there. He says maybe it was ice sheets, or maybe it's a very old map, and everything has been wiped out there. Hard to tell what's going on. Hard to tell. A land of devastation. Another thing you might, I have pointed out before, India. India contains tales of, talk to any Indian and ask them if the ancient spaceships are real. They'll say yes. It's something I can't talk about with Westerners because Westerners will freak out. They will think I am a bit of a loony, and they will absolutely freak out about this because they just actually can't handle the fact that they can't. Let me put it this way. Westerners have a built-in religion that humans have only evolved recently and nothing else can be considered. But the East tells us otherwise. But I actually shy away from that these days because people can't handle it. Lots of my fans, they couldn't handle it. Anyway, another thing I want to point out, once this becomes accepted, and it already is becoming accepted, there's a massive Wikipedia article on the Younger Dryas look up the Younger Dryas catastrophe hypothesis, the black mat. Once this becomes accepted, only sites which date to the Younger Dryas will be included in the literature. Any site which is with the black mat found to be 6000 BC, such as the sinking of Doggerland, or 1000 or 500 AD, which is the Barron-Blackett comet around there, will not be included in the literature because they'll say, well, it's not in the literature, so therefore it's an anomaly. We can't publish it. They won't accept it. That's how science works because we know there have been more than one dark ages. There's a recent one. There's one in 2000 BC. There's this one, 12,000 BC, 12,000 years ago, 10,000 BC, etc. That's why Hancock's on about it. And this fan was found this black mat in this region, Groningen. And as you see, the black mat is, I'll show you where it is. It's right, it's, okay, we can't expand it anymore, but it's right here, this black. And guess what? It looks like there's some soil. There's some white soil there. Do you see that line? And then there's another black mat layer above it. And then there's back to the white soil or the yellow soil. So it's repeated catastrophes over time. And actually, in the cycle of cosmic catastrophes, this looks almost, it's a beach, but it looks almost like a golf course. These two authors, or three or more authors, this team, they've visited golf courses and they've looked at the bunkers to find the black mats. Great book. Okay, so let's get back to this. So we've talked about Hancock. And they find the black mat all over. It's a substratum. It officially covers the Clovis age. So if they find any other black mats, they're not going to say, it's not true. It's not. We can't consider this. Let's exclude it from the hypothesis. Just like they used to say, there can't be humans more than 7,000 years old in the Americas. Everything else must be excluded from the literature. This is a kind of zealotry, fanaticism. It's not scientific at all. So let us, and this is my point, the Dark Ages. The problem is we have lots of Dark Ages. There are lots of catastrophes, lots of comets. Happens regularly, guys. And we're going to look in the Orea Linda book, which describes one of these catastrophes. Now, the Orea Linda book is very interesting because they say it's written in imitated Old Frisian, purporting to cover historical, mythological, and religious themes from antiquity. Look, that may be so, but that doesn't mean the stories included, and it seems to be very varied. It doesn't mean the stories included are not real stories. There is a little bit of tunnel vision going on with the debunking of this very interesting book, in my view. It purports to be from a distant era. I've noticed that a lot of the information in it is actually quite interesting. And obviously it's you can read all about it, the debunking and all this. Esotericists are very interested in it. Look, we're going to read a story which is found in it. Okay, here we go. The earliest proportion of the Orea Linda book, supposedly composed in 2194 BC, whereas the most recent part dates to 1256 AD. It actually, to me, it feels like a collection of manuscript which has been transcribed many times. And then this may have been rewritten into, someone said it's imitated Old Frisian. Well, hang on a sec. When I used to read, doing my PhD, when I used to read Latin manuscripts, everyone has a different Latin. Everyone uses a different Latin vocabulary, different Latin words. You couldn't cross-check back then. So what does this mean? It's interesting. Anyway, so the last two sections of the Orea Linda book contain a number of lacunae, and the book itself breaks off in mid-sentence. Ooh, so it's trying to be like the Atlantis legend. This could be an indication that is forged. I'm going to keep an open mind because it was debunked a long time ago, and we've moved on since then. Science changes. So in the Orea Linda book, How the Bad Time Came. Wait till you get a load of this. And this is from the area where I've just shown you the photographs. So during the whole summer, the sun had been hid behind the clouds as if unwilling to look upon the earth. Okay, so that sounds like volcanoes or impacts. And when they talk about the Younger Dryas, millions of impacts. They say that we went for a comet tail. It's more than one impact. There was perpetual calm, and a damp mist hung like a wet sail over the houses and marches. You can tell me if this sounds fake or not. I don't know. It could be, it might not be. The air was heavy and oppressive, and in men's hearts was neither joy nor cheerfulness in the midst of this stillness. The earth began to tremble as if she was dying. The mountains opened to vomit forth fire and flames. Some sank into the bosom of the earth, and in other places, mountains rose out of the plain. So it sounds like volcanism, maybe some impacts, and the earth is actually changing shape. Altland, the old land, called by the seafaring people Utland, disappeared, and the wild waves rose so high. And we actually know that this land did actually change over time. The oceans kind of rose. And this land is still sinking to this day. We've shown this in videos around the UK, around the North Sea. Altland disappeared and the waves rose high, so high over hill and dale that everything was buried in the sea. Many people were swallowed up by the earth, and others who had escaped the fire perished in the water. It was not only in Finder's land that the earth vomited fire, but also in Tyskland, Germany. Whole forests were burned up one after the other, and when the wind blew from that quarter, our land was covered with ashes. Rivers changed their course, and at their mouths new islands were formed of sand and drift. It's almost like a Velikovsky type of upheaval where suddenly all the volcanoes open up out of the ground and change the landscape. During 3 years this continued, but at length it ceased, and forests became visible. Many countries were submerged, and in other places land arose above the sea, and the wood was destroyed through the half of Tyskland. Talking about the invasion of the Finns into Scandinavia. Anyway, it's complicated. I'll let you talk about this. So what's next? In the Legend of Atlantis, it talks about cometary impacts. And now I just want to show you, I talk about the Orea Linda book. You're going to say it's fake and stuff, but look, we have no choice. We have to look at history. In Cyclocosmic Catastrophes, for example, the authors discuss many Native American accounts. So here's one, and it's just a tale from Barefoot, told in 1995. That afternoon, the princess and other tribe members left the camp to see what had happened. They found that explosions had burned giant holes into the ground, and that rain-swollen streams cascaded into them. The rains continued every day for 13 months, so that soon the craters were full. The giant hole closest to their camp became a huge 15-mile-long inland lake. They called it Matamuskit, the lake on the hill, and named their tribe after it. Thanks to the falling stars, which brought much-needed water, they had survived. Out of seeming catastrophe came a new life. So if they're if researchers include tales like that, why not a Orea Linda book? Anyway, Phaeton. In the Legend of Atlantis, it says that Phaeton, the son of Helios, having yoked the steeds of his father's chariot because he was not able to drive them in the path of his father, burned up all that was on the earth and was himself destroyed by a thunderbolt. Now, this is the form of a myth, but it really signifies the declination of bodies moving in the heavens around the earth. So it sounds like a cometary impact. That's also covered in that book. So what we're seeing is there is a repetition. And they said, well, Orea Linda book must be fake because they're copying this legend. But this legend is actually worldwide anyway. So don't forget to mention that when you debunk. So Olaus Rudbeck, a long time ago, said that Sweden or Scandinavia is basically Atlantis. He says it's very similar to the legend of Atlantis. Very interesting place. So the Goths, and we actually see information about the drowned land. So in the Gothic language, the Goths were called the Guthfuda, Gothic people, or the Gutians, but they keep saying Got, good, or God. They say it actually means to pour. So it's something to do with water, which is really quite fascinating. And though the etymology of the Gothic name connects waters to pouring, the actual meaning remains uncertain. So it's actually showing that, when they mention etymologies, they guess. But it's interesting. Various interpretations have been suggested. The pouring could refer to a river or a flooded homeland. The name could mean people in a sense of being seed spreaders or progenitors. There's the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. So Scandinavia itself, it's very interesting. Very old name. Skathen. It means danger. In English, we know it's scare or scant, very little. Here it means damage or danger. And Skandinavia, where we get which means dangerous island, is the name of Scandinavia. It means Skafin Ayo island. The name Scandinavia would mean dangerous island. I'm not making this up. It's here in Wikipedia. It must be true. So I hope you have found this a most interesting video indeed. Cheers.